Let's have a talk, let's have a chat, talking about a little this and that. Hello and welcome to another episode of This and That. I am your host, Mary Easterling, and today we're coming to you with something a little bit special. But before we begin, to listen to anything else from This and That, go to talkingaboutthисandthat.wordpress.com and click on the podcast link. When you go there, you will find that it's been reorganized. We now have links up at the top of the page for Daughter of Zion Eternally, for One Spirit, One Lord, and for Lion's Rose, because the podcast page is big enough as it is. I'm coming to you this morning to refer to a good piece of the puzzle of things that have been going on. I want to thank one Heather Cox Richardson for her work on YouTube called This Week in Politics. She came on and she talked about the whole Maduro removal from Venezuela. Now, folks, when POTUS started going after boat in Venezuelan waters, other South American waters, started boarding tankers, I had this sense of uneasiness, like, this ain't right, something worse is coming. Then a couple of days ago, I hear that we have gone in and taken a seated, elected president out of his country and brought him to America. Now, many are on board with this. They think this is the best thing we could ever have done because, admittedly, this man is a dictator and, quite frankly, ought to be removed. Thing is, he ought to be removed by his own people, not by us. So some are saying, well done. Somebody finally stood up to this bad guy. But this person pointed out something that really bothers me. It's not that this man is out of office, it's how it was done. Go back to World Wars I and II. And don't forget, we're in the middle of a war of words, rhetoric, and posturing in two theaters, Israel and Gaza, with Russia and Ukraine. And Russia wants to get in to Ukraine to run a railroad through it to Iran. It's about BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with the USD and the European Union. It's about that, but it's not about that. It's also about one world order versus nationalism, but it's not about that. But after World Wars I and II, the United Nations was born. The United Nations, go to un.gov and you will find a charter with articles. And there's an article, Article 51, and it makes this statement. Nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations, until the Security Council has taken measures necessary to maintain international peace and security. Measures taken by members in the exercise of this right of self-defense shall be immediately reported to the Security Council and shall not in any way affect the authority and responsibility of the Security Council under the present charter to take at any time such action as it deems necessary in order to maintain or restore international peace and security. And this is from their website, un.org. However, I found a loophole. Member. Remember when we went to, it was either Iraq or Iran, and we went over to do Desert Shield, I think it was, because big country wanted to get into Kuwait, little country, and take it over. And we flew boots onto the ground and said, no, 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 you go back over the line, shoo, 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 with bullets, and you stay over there and we'll stay over here, and that's it. That was a UN peacekeeping mission. Basically, the idea here is no nation has the right to go barging into any other nation, big or small, and trying to take them over. That, I believe, is called annexation. We've just annexed Venezuela, and POTUS was talking about the war on drugs, all these drugs, it's fentanyl, it's cocaine, it's this, it's that, it's killing our people, and of course it was fentanyl, and anybody who knows anything about South America knows that he went after the wrong country. They don't cook over there. They're a corridor. Countries south of Venezuela have to go through Venezuela to get to countries north of Venezuela that are connected to all the cartels. That's not to say that there probably aren't cartels in Venezuela. There are cartels all over the God bless South American nations. But the problem is that's not a reason for an invasion. You police your borders and you step up your border controls and you deal with the reason for the influx of drugs into your territory, aka the demand thereof. Oh, wait, that's a health and wellness issue. And we didn't renew our subsidies. So people who need a health and wellness to get off of all those bad, nasty drugs that are killing America and making a demand for all those bad, nasty drugs to come over the border aren't going to get help because they can't afford it. Wow. Well, Venezuela, I'm pretty sure, is not a member of the United Nations. Remember, the United Nations is the allied nations, and the Axis nations are kind of tilting on their own axis and accessing their own. But still, we broke the rules by doing this. We also broke faith and trust in America by doing this. Now, there are people who will say that there is talk of possible cognitive issues with POTUS. So he's getting extremely impulsive, and because the Democratic Party hasn't got a leg to stand on right now in House or Senate, they're not going after him. Problem is, he's got lawsuits stacked up in the courts against him from the state for ICE. And speaking of ICE, it was either yesterday or the day before in Minnesota, a lady did stupid. She pulled her car up and attempted to block the forward motion of a government agency, ICE. Bad as we don't like it, they are a government agency. And so they came out of their cars to go after her, to pull her out of her car, and to yell at her to make her to go away. Just about the time that they were reaching for her door, she decided to put the car in reverse to angle it so she could go around and leave. Now, either an ICE agent or a cop shot at her and then hit her and shot her in the face and killed her, or in the head, headshot, killed her. Her car gunned it right into a utility pole. She was already dead. The video shows that whoever the shooter is was following the car shooting and was not in any danger. It looks like the car is about to run someone over who could simply step aside and let her go. But no, he opened fire because he could. And they have the biggest bonus in revenue from our taxpayer money right now. So they're emboldened to do even more damage. Something sounds like brown shirts era World War II, and you would be correct. There's a lot that could be said about cognitive issues, rambling speeches, etc., etc., but I see an almost consummate act going on here. Because if POTUS is as bad as everybody says he is, why isn't he being relieved of office? Because by this point, if they relieve him of office, his entire cabinet and the House and Senate might just fall prey to the judicial system. Of the two of them, I still think J.D. Vance is the more dangerous because we could go from a state dictatorship to a church state. It depends. It really depends on what Vance tries to do next and if Vance even gets in. POTUS is also talking about canceling the midterm elections. We thought POTUS couldn't invade another country, and he just did. Do we think there's going to be a midterm election? Everybody's thinking yes, and that the Democratic Party is going to sweep the House at least, and the Senate maybe. I don't know. Something tells me this is year 2, and the teeth are going to start getting bared. In the meantime, there's talking about something called a techno-state. A techno-state from the tip of South America to the top of Alaska, maybe even the North Pole. Who knows? Where techno-oligarch people have all the money, everyone else is grubbing and kissing boots just to live, making people into hybrid man and machine. Ladies and gentlemen who are believers in Jesus Christ, thereupon is the seeded slippery slope towards the mark of the beast. Anything that they can put in you, that they can program in you to help you to walk, or this or that, they might be able to run an extra thing somewhere in your brain in the surgery and leave it turned off. And then one day they turn it on. And you are now primed to go pledge your allegiance to the beast that rises from the sea. I have said this before. I will say this again. This is a man that is a man of lawlessness. He is an antichrist, not the antichrist. However, I'm starting to wonder if he's not sliding on that slope. But seal 6 of Revelations has not occurred. Unless it has and we missed it. There's that one little Greek word that could be the world, the land, or the dirt underneath your feet. It's anybody's guess. Where does this thing happen? When does this thing happen? How does this thing happen? We don't know. That's how the Jews felt when Jesus started walking the earth. They were like, this can't be possible. This can't be possible. This can't be God. So now, all these things seem to be combining against POTUS. And yet his party, neither his party nor the Democrats, are impeaching or removing him from office. This is a cult, an increasingly dictatorial cult, bent on allowing the abilities to turn ever-increasing lenses of view onto, quote-unquote, we the people. The evangelical Christian nationalistic, white is right, ideological, so-called church that says that they belong to Jesus Christ, whom Jesus Christ does not acknowledge, nor do they acknowledge him. Not really. They have their own agenda. Is now in power through Heritage Foundation and more for conservative government, which, by the way, when the next flooding comes, just defunded the first boots on the ground of first responders for FEMA, if he hasn't already destroyed FEMA as well. His tariffs have turned what was a very good economy at the end of Biden into something that we are now starting to regret ever seeing or ever knowing. So it's that. And yet this man stays in office. It's amazing. So, and it's raining outside. So now we have a people that are in power, and this is biblical actually, literally drunk with the power they have obtained. They're starting to realize the manner of man that they've placed in the Oval Office. Many of them are starting to break ties with this man, but it's a little too little, a little too late. Neither can the key players now actually back out, because then they're left open for prosecution. Because, see, remember how POTUS got in? SCOTUS? Presidential immunity for anything he does while he's in office, while he's exercising his presidential right, his presidential duties. Trump knows this, the cabinet knows this, and so they're keeping it as tightly to the edges of that as they can, and they keep testing the limits. Can this be considered presidential? Yes, that I'm immune, I can do whatever I want. Can this be? Can invading Venezuela, taking its president and bringing him back here, and foreign diplomats and foreign leaders are immune from prosecution by world court standards? They have to be tried at The Hague. So if Maduro has to go for charges, he has to go there or wherever they're holding the world court now. America can't try him. We don't have the jurisdiction, but we can just hold him hostage. Moreover, we're not really defending Ukraine either. We're not doing anything with Ukraine. They're being bombed while Trump plays patty cake with Putin. After this, Putin will not listen to Trump. Putin will laugh Trump right out of the Kremlin. Why? He'll say, well, I want Ukraine because I want Ukraine. You wanted Venezuela and you took it. You now own Venezuela. You're now running the country. Why can't I just run Ukraine? Get out of my face. Watch this. It's coming. This is going to be Ukraine's worst nightmare. And the United Nations will have to step in. And the thing is, we risk losing our status as a member of the United Nations because of this one man's actions. Call this Pharaoh's gambit. Only God himself can now humble these people. Quite possibly the only thing that can take this man out might be the hand of God, and nothing lives forever. I don't know. How bad is his health? I don't know. Usually I will leave it at this and this, but this time I'm going to say two things. We're also in a time. Now, I'm not date setting, but I am date setting because I don't know. I don't know a lot of stuff at this point. And here's the thing. Jesus died and was resurrected at or around 33 AD, somewhere in the 30s. 1030-something was the first day. 2030-something is the second day, the end thereof. On the third day, Jesus rose from the dead. Who's to say that on the third day all hell doesn't start commencing and breaking loose from heaven as Jesus prepares to return again. See, the 3.5-year business in the book of Revelation is tied and linked to the beast regime, beasts, plural, regime. The whore beast riding on the back of the beastie beast, the animal beast, because the whore beast is his religious arm, his media arm, causing men to not be able to buy or sell unless they take the mark. When you don't have a house or job or car or food or medicine, you're facing starvation and death. You're going to watch your children do it, and they may not know Jesus. They will run for the mark, and you have to let them go. Your spouse may run for the mark, and you have to let them go. But that's bad, because then they're going to turn and hunt you down. Either way, you're going to die. Death is not the enemy. Death is only the beginning, because we will resurrect in the first resurrection. So if this is true, and this strangeness that has been going on is heading actually towards the final chapter, the final book, fully opening up, it is time to perform Isaiah 26:20. Come, my people, enter your chambers and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourself, as it were, for a little moment until the indignation is past. Whose indignation? God's. The book of the Revelation of Jesus Christ is also about the indignation of God against those, the nations, that thought they could rise up against him. That's Psalm 2, I believe. Shut your heart in with the King of Glory. One more thing. Americans, it might be time to take up your voice and speak. Senate.gov will give you the ability to talk to as many senators as you can pull up the send a message to. Make it respectful. Keep it short. A lot of the senators' little put your message here will only accommodate so many characters, so keep it under that. Your thing needs to be an appeal not only for impeachment but for removal from office. In the meantime, do not get into venom, do not take sides, do not get into vitriol, do not go out protesting. The woman who died was doing just that, protesting. Unfortunately, she was also breaking the law by preventing the forward process in traffic of government agency en route to an assignment. We may not like them, but we cannot block them. Every time that we start to work against them, we're actually breaking our laws. In the meantime, we are still mandated to abide by the laws of this land, to pray for those who are either going to or have already abused or abused us. Moreover, something came out on the pundits of YouTube about something called air tagging. The ability for software, Motorola's name came up, software developer that now has the ability to scan your tags, use all closed caps, the CCTV type cameras and security, even your Ring doorbell, they can get into it now. They can see you through your doorbell. They can see you through your Alexa. They can hear you. You are now lenses being turned on you as of 9/11. Thank you, President Bush. That should have been undone, but it's not. We became a police state the minute those lenses started turning on us. And without guardrails to stop them, they want to know more. There is now software that can take the information about you and put out patterns, driving patterns, where you go, where you are. They can find you wherever you go. Oh, by the way, your cell phone is still GPS tagging you, and you can't take out the battery. It's listening to you even when it's off. That's right, because the battery's in there. So you're not safe. If you offend, they will come after you, and you won't understand why, and that'll just be too bad for you, which makes this broadcast a very serious problem for me, which is why I'm telling you, do not go out and protest. Use the power of the vote. Pray that we're allowed to vote for the midterms, because POTUS wants to cancel it. He still hasn't found his way to shut down the Constitution and declare full-on martial law and make this a true police state and become president-elect for life. It's what he wants to do. I want to thank you for listening. Until then.